in the vision board. Like I
Right.
can literally be in the vision board because I can be in Madison Square Garden. I can be in Paris. I can be in all those places. And all I have to do is just Google an image and change the background, right?
So cool.
Obviously green screens are helpful, but those are nominal in terms of
Totally.
fees. Now I'm even thinking about it. I would want anyone to experience it. Like I almost am tempted. This is just a random thought. Just like, hey, I want to gift a green screen to one of your students at your school.
Hmm.
I just want to gift it so that they're able to go and virtually transmit themselves to a different place,
Oh yeah.
just for the heck of it. Like I'm that might be a dope thing. Like I think this cost me like $27. It cost me 27 gray hairs to try to figure out how to fold it.
Yeah.
I'm sitting over here like, why won't this bend correctly?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then you start to feel hopeless. Then you go watch a bunch of YouTube videos and you try what they said. And
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
guy goes, you twist your arms like this and you push it and
Make
it
yourself
closes.
yeah.
And I go like this, boom, and it like knocks me out. And I'm like, this guy's a liar.
Yeah.
It's a liar. But what was cool about it, even there's a lesson in everything, is that I realized someone knows how to make this work. I just haven't figured out which way they do that works for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept looking for videos and eventually found one that worked. And I was
Well,
like, look at this. Like, look how if I just believe that the solution is out there, then the only thing I'm responsible for is to keep searching.
oh man.
If
So
I just
good.
keep on searching, like,
Yeah.
hey, I don't know. That's fine, you don't know, but don't stop at I don't know and think it's no.
Right.
That right is just keep
Yeah.
going, seeking, and then eventually find the answer. And it
Yeah.
sounds super simple, or maybe you're reading into this, Geo. You're so glass half full guy that you found a way to make a freaking green screen a message to you. But
Uh-huh.
I want you to understand that it's literally how we make things work is that belief is not about what sense it makes to you,
Mm-hmm.
to the person,
Mm-hmm.
that somebody else. It's what did I believe, and it worked for me. And if it works for you, great. But I just need you to find what works for you and never let go of believing it's something is possible.
That's fantastic, man. I love that's the green screen as an example of finding a solution to something is so parallel to, I mean, everything, but magic especially is like that as an art. Maybe all arts, but my experience is in magic. But there's a move you'll read about in a book, and there's just like no way that move is actually possible in real time with a deck of cards. It take 20 steps to write the move that happens in a second, and you're like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that. And I think I was talking about something I'd practiced last time we
Mm-hmm.
chatted. That move was the one where I had this moment where I was like, no, I there is a way. It's just not, I haven't found it in my hands yet. Like it's in somebody
Yeah.
else's hands right now. And this is maybe a good theme for us to talk about today. I mean, we're
Yep.
already kind of there, but, and I was late on the recording. We didn't miss much. We just missed talking about our
Now
green,
you good.
uh, which I also think is a phenomenal idea to gift some people a green screen in the spirit of possibility. Like as this is a blank canvas, this is an opportunity for creativity. It's something that looks so plain and boring at first, I think, but presented in the right lens, it's like this really beautiful gift. So I love that. But I also love the idea of making things work for you. Uh, and really the only thing that stands in the way of more possibility is buying the idea that there aren't anymore. Like quitting,
Yeah.
basically, right? Like saying,
Yeah.
I've seen all the possibilities. none of them will be effective, and therefore I should stop searching for more. Deadly thinking. I sometimes
it's limiting. It's a limiting thought.
Mhm.
You know, and there's a quote, I forgot who said it. It may be, I think Jim Quick may have said it. It's like, if you fight for your limitations, you will have them.
Mm.
Right? Like, if you fight,
man.
like, hey, since you want it so bad, here it is. And we forget that the key to you getting it was you wanted it badly.
Right.
But you be careful of what is it that you want badly, because you just might get it.
Truer words, man. Yeah.
You know, and you start thinking about this stuff of like, oh my gosh, like, and here's the thing, when you talk about endless possibilities, I was teaching this thing yesterday, and I have this course called First Book Done, and one of the things that I started thinking about was that many people don't get their first done because they thought that the first meant that they would be done. So what happens is we're like, this is going to be the only book I ever write. Mm-hmm. So it has to be so right, or I won't do it.
Right.
And what we miss is the fact that the magic often happens in the remix or the sequel. Mm-hmm. But you can't have a sequel and you can't have a remix without some first rendition or edition of whatever it is that you have.
Totally.
So when you start thinking about it, like, oh snap, like I can just let go of the pressure of, oh, I only did this thing one time. And I was talking to people about, like, if you love horror movies, you don't watch a horror movie once and say, well, seen them all, I'm good. Right. You don't go and say, hey, be loved, you did a magic trick. I'm satisfied. I want to know what else you know. Right. So we buy into this idea of, oh my gosh, this has to be this. And I'm like, hey, just get the first thing done. And so let me just show you in real time how that has evolved in just this conversation for the last 3 to 4 minutes. I said in the beginning, hey, I think we started off, look at this. And this is the whole thing when we talk about this show being making of magic, right? Making magic. Yeah. We started off and I was thrilled. Like I was literally like, I just found this background like 2 minutes before. Cause I was like, hey, I know last time we spoke, we said, yo, this is cool. And I'm like, I don't want to come up with the same thing. I need something different. I said, hey, I want something to pay homage to where I live. I live in New York City. So I said, let me get Madison Square Garden. Behind me, like a microphone. That's where Billy Joel was sitting.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't see that.
To the crowd, right?
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I got the background. So we start off there, and then we go into like how cool green screens are, right? So we start bragging about, oh my gosh, green screens are so cool because we can literally be anywhere, and we're starting to really dig this virtual thing that for a lot of us, we didn't like it at first. So now you go and say you got this virtual thing. That then goes into like, how cool would it be for students, young people, to be able to be anywhere so that they can go and see themselves. Like I said, people have vision boards, but how cool is that this thing here would be on a wall somewhere or on my desk, and now I see myself inside of it.
Right.
Crazy. So awesome. Now we go and say,
brilliant.
How can I get one kid to go ahead and do something like this? That becomes an idea. Now let me show you what I wrote on my board. Here I wrote, okay, cool. Listen to how it progressed. We've had all this conversation.
Yeah.
I now go into gift a green screen to a school for one kid to experience this magic of different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Now, because I had that first idea, let me show you, beloved, what that transferred to.
Nice.
Tell me what's underneath that now.
One moment.
Now, hold on. Let me see it. Oh, no, this angle's, I don't know. Do you see what's below the arrow?
Green screen challenge?
Right. Now it goes from, yo, I said I want to gift it, to maybe I go and challenge, yo, I nominate so-and-so speaker to give a green screen to somebody in his audience, somebody in his network. And now this one idea can become, oh, Derice started the green screen challenge to go in and help to create inspiration so that young people can literally be anywhere at any time. Just from a random idea. Now, whether I do it or not, it's exciting me enough that I know that I can't let it sit, because one of this thing, I was reading a book by Tim Grover. He said the only thing that happens to stuff you put on the back burner is that they cool off.
No doubt.
So I need to do something with this, even if it's to go and tell one person or one school, I'll do it. And then if they like it, it might give me the wind behind my sails to go and tell, yo, let me go into some speaker chats and say, guys, listen, I'm trying to do something that is stupid. I'm just calling it stupid now so that you don't go and wonder if it's smart later. Right?
That's
so
exactly
stupid,
right.
it's stupid. So I just want to let you know IQ is not necessary for this conversation. And then just tell them, I just want to know, we've all had to go and do virtual presentations, and we've literally been able to be anywhere at any time. And I think the anytime, anywhere, all possibilities are possible would be a cool thing for someone else to experience besides just us.
Heck yes. Heck yes.
And just invite people to it. And whether they do it or not is like cool. But I just think, like, as I'm excited and it's bringing the 36-year-old into a kid again.
Yeah, nice.
By doing this is like, yo, well, what if I get the kid to do that? Like, yo, I've never been to Central Park before. Well, you can be there right now with a green screen.
Oh man.
Like, you know, I never went to Disney World. Well, it's closed now, but it can be open for you.
Yeah.
If you just get the picture on Google Images.
Absolutely, man. I love it.
Here's the process.
I think even like offering, like you say, ideas come from other ideas, really. That's like the only place ideas come from. And maybe we don't know the original idea, but your brain is just constantly going. And so having the first iteration of anything is the most important part, because you can turn it into something else. So as you're talking about green screen challenge, I'm thinking, what if that was like an assignment in a school or in a course for teachers to have their students identify some ambition and then do some presentation with the green screen and teach them how to use it as a vision board, for example, in a careers class, or to use it as a backdrop for a history presentation in history class, or English for literature, or something like that, right? And I'm thinking, because I know there's a ton of people that are struggling with this format, not being able to be in person, but and I know you said it, but at the beginning I felt like, oh, I'm so constrained by what I can do now. Being a magician, I depend a lot on the ability to like call somebody up on a stage and get them to make some decisions. So I'm trying to find ways to, how do you deliver magic interactively through a screen? There are ways, but I've been resistant, and none of it has been my regular material. So trying to learn to do stuff that way, and thinking, well, all these teachers out there, you know, I'm a magician. I have at least magic I can try. What are teachers doing to engage and get students to like pay attention day after day after day? And suddenly, like these possibilities, as I gesture to my two lamps, brand new lamps that I've embraced as part of this journey down a virtual lane, you know, all of a sudden possibilities start to appear to tie it all back, because my attitude about it's changed, I think, in large part, right? Just by being willing to say, yeah, what if though? Like, and what if it is actually fun? Like, what if I don't need to fight for my limitations anymore?
Yeah. It's crazy. I think of it. I just want to I want people to flip the script. So where we have the limitations, we put a period at the end of that sentence. You know, somebody said to me, I posted something online I said, hey, who would like to write a book one day by the end of this year? And somebody said, I cannot afford you. They wrote that in the comments.
Okay.
And I said, do not ever end a negative statement with a period. I need you to insert the word yet, because when you say I cannot afford you, you just locked it in.
Man.
You just fought for your limitation.
Totally.
And I rather you put the word yet, because yet creates leaves the possibility still open.
Totally.
I didn't tell you know the how yet. But how can't find you if the door's closed.
Right. Man, I love how you say stuff. Dude, that's so good.
it can't. Like,
Absolutely.
And I just want people to understand, like, you might say, like, and you people will see this and they'll be like, yo, this guy is so positive. Like, it seems like nothing ever goes wrong to him. Guys, I had an amazing webinar planned last night. Just to be honest with you guys, look, I'm in cloud 9. I'm like doing dances because I'm like, this content is going to be crazy. I had 11 people registered. 4 people showed up. 3 people stayed till the end. No one bought anything. And then I went to my wife and I told her, this is what I told her at first. Yo, 3 people signed up today. And she said, babe, good job. I said, psych, just kidding. No one signed up. And I'm smiling. And she's like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, this is great. And she's like, why is this great? And I'm like, I don't know, but I know it's good for me. There's something good even in the failure, because I just realized in the sight of defeat, I didn't let it make it take my smile. So I'm still like this. I got 0 people today. The person who's smiling at that is literally the person who one day will see 5, 10, 20, 100 people, because they left the door open. If I come mopey, nobody cares. I guess it's not going to work. And I put a period at that. What if hope was around the corner and it was like, I'll see you next week. And I go and say, well, it doesn't matter if you see me next week, because I've done moved. I done shipped my stuff to another place. I don't even live there no more, Hope.
No doubt.
And Hope goes, hello.
Knocking on the door.
Knock, knock, knock. And it's like, dang, no one's there, man. I had so much stuff I wanted to do in Geo and what he was doing. But because he's not here no more, he can't get it. And I just think, like, what if we this is why I believe in the whole thing of magic, is like, because we're talking about like the endless possibilities. It's like, yo, too many people the door is closed. The window's no longer open. And so that fresh air can't come in.
Absolutely. It's, man, I love your way with words. You're definitely an orator.
I hated, it's crazy because I hated to read. I don't care. I thought I could care less about words. But then as I started studying, listening to stuff, and I'm a big thing on like comedians now, like, because of their ability to say stuff that we are thinking, but say it in a way that's consumable and palatable. And you're like, oh, snap. Like, I was thinking that. Wow. Or the way you said that was so interesting to me. And one of my favorites and one of my biggest, he's like rising up to the top for me, is Dave Chappelle.
Oh yeah.
Like Dave Chappelle and his, oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Like just the way he thinks. And I'm like, that's so fascinating. But what I'm more fascinated by is his ability to find truth and speak on it without any apology. Like, and understand you're gonna hurt some people. That's what he says. I know that. But I have to say it because someone needs to hear it in the first place. And it could be anything, like maybe it's not hurting someone, but maybe your magic may not wow someone.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you've ever done a trick and somebody was like, that's it.
A million times.
Right? It's like, and you're over here like, and this is why I wrote the thing about the
Oh
20
yeah,
moves
the one
equals a
moment.
moment, because you was like, hey man, they wrote down 20 steps for this one trick. And I was like, oh snap, well, there's 20 moves to that. And so it's like, it seems simple because in a moment, magic trick is done, but there was 20 steps that had to be executed correctly to ensure that that happens. And so
Yeah.
you could easily get lost in like, oh snap, man, like everybody's gonna like my stuff, everybody's gonna do this. I'm like, no, not, it's not true.
Uh-huh.
You just gotta find there's this thing called the true 1,000 fans.
Oh yeah.
You have you heard of it?
Yeah. I can't remember. Is that Seth Godin maybe or
He may
someone?
have alluded to it. I
Okay.
don't know if it was him who came up with the original thought,
Cool.
but the concept is basically like, if you find your true 1,000 fans, these are the people who are going to say yes to you no matter what.
Right.
If you came out with a B Love pencil, they're going to buy it.
Right.
If you come out with, hey, this is the B, I know we don't use mouse anymore because we have laptops and stuff, but here's a mouse pad. You guys, I don't know if I'm aging myself with mouse pads.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then when you got the wireless mouse, it was just like a game changer. Look at
Oh
this
yeah.
laser
100%.
on the end of this mouse. But when you come up with the B Love, mouse pad, they're gonna buy that too. And so the interesting thing about a true 1,000 fans is that they will buy whatever you have as long as you keep selling something. Now, if you have a true 1,000 and you're selling something for $10, you can literally make $10,000 a month with just the true 1,000. But I don't have 1 million followers.
Right.
Well, the reality is that even the biggest, I just went on. Kevin Hart has 99.7 million followers on Instagram. 1.2 million liked his last post.
Wow.
Where the heck is the other 98 million?
You're right. Yeah.
We're like, you know what? I need to have this big number. And if I do the math, 1 out of 98 million is 2%. Less than 2% engage with this stuff. And we're like, I need 1 million. And it's like, you just need to find your 1%.
Yeah, man. It's so funny you say that. I was actually looking at The Rock's Instagram.
What you saw? Did you see that he has two? He's the most followed person on Instagram.
He's the most followed person on Instagram, and I did this same calculation though. He's got like what 200 million followers.
Yes, 200 million. Yep.
And his last one of his posts got, I don't know, even if it gets 5 million, that's still 2.5% engagement. But I did the same calculation with The Rock. That's kind of funny considering Kevin Hart and The Rock have that weird,
that relationship.
Weird relationship. Yeah. But
yeah,
man, yeah, what a great thing to point out. I wanted to talk a bit about wordcraft a bit more because
let's do it.
That's as you said, like for my own sake, I hated English, the course. Not the language I speak it, but the course when I was a kid, I hated being forced to read. And my mom's a reader. And so she loved to like encourage it. As a kid, I liked to read, but I didn't like anybody else wanting me to do it. I didn't like the sense of obligation. And English made me kind of resent words for a bunch.
Wow.
But I had one teacher, Emilio Del Sordo. He might be listening. I don't know. He's still a friend now, but in grade 11, in his English class, we learned how to read and like really read the words, really think about what's being said and what could have been said. Like, why was this the choice in the writing? And he used to have a quote in the classroom. Oh man, if I remember this. Language most shows the man, but he would have it in human. He had corrected it. Speak that I may see thee. So that's resonate. I can't remember who said it. An old playwright, Shakespeare's contemporary. Anyway, that stuck with me from then. And then I started to pay attention to the words that I used. And I started to notice, in karate when I was a kid, we used to say, I will not use or believe the word can't. But then I started now in grade 11 to really, pay attention to this line I've been saying for years and notice where this line is popping up, where I'm calling things impossible or saying things can't be done or cutting myself out of the equation, closing the door, to use your phrase, before I even have a chance to peek through it. And to tie it all back to magic, another of my favorite thinkers, a guy named Terence McKenna. We can talk about him another time. There's a whole bunch of magic in Terence McKenna.
Yeah.
But he said the real secret of magic is that the world is made of words. And once you know the words the world is made of, you can make of it whatever you wish.
Sheesh.
And
Wow.
I think we get so used to, I get so used to, I mean, right now we're just being colloquial, right? We're just throwing conversation like we would anywhere we go. It's habitual. We don't have to think about what we're talking about right now, really. I mean, we can, but the words flow after the thoughts. And I think we lose sight of how important language is. And I mean, big we, when we get so used to it. When we build these habits of conversation, we forget that everything that we think is determining the experience of reality. And that begins with the fundamental units of meaning making, which are these words that we use.
Yeah.
Right. So if we can, and like you say, maybe we're being optimistic. Maybe this is like, it's nothing new, but maybe it's the thing we need to be reminded of a lot. I know I certainly do, because I find these thoughts regularly pop into my head. I mean, in the middle of a global pandemic, I'm an optimist, but I still find right now being optimistic can be challenging on the best of days. There's definitely like a background of weightiness in the world.
Yeah.
But I catch myself in these dark times, or when I'm having a moment of darkness, like, what am I saying right now? What's the language in my head? How is what I'm thinking creating reality? If I'm saying, man, this sucks, this is awful, this is stupid, this is terrible, poor me, I immediately embrace that victimhood and start looking for other reasons to be a victim, to fall into that. I know I use the word, again, that word itself, victim, is attached with a lot of other context, right? I should be careful about my word choice here. But people are yield to circumstances without recognizing, maybe shifting the phrase, like, what can I do today? What's in my control? And just that little shift in thought, in language, paves the path to a whole bunch of other possibilities that have always been there. They weren't ever not there, but they weren't ever here. So I love this idea. And I think this is maybe what all speakers are doing, right? Maybe not all, but a bunch of speakers talk about, shifting your language and following these phrases, and make a vision board so the words are there in your mind about what you want to create. I just think it's such a great and underwhelming, over often forgotten notion that we're constantly creating the world right now with the words that we think and use.
That's so well said. It's I guess where we don't, and I've said this before, maybe, and I will keep saying this, the power of words, we don't realize it because it happens so easily. And I've often found the most revealing stuff when I've slowed down basic, regular stuff that I've been talking about.
Oh, yeah.
If you say it slow, you will get the lesson versus saying it fast. And here's the perfect example. I didn't know this was going to happen. This is why we call this making magic.
Yeah.
We talked about the power of words, and you just said creating. The first thing that came to my mind, I'm in the United States, we have this whole idea of freedom of speech. Now, we say that all the time, right? Freedom of speech, freedom of speech, freedom of speech. And what I'm saying is, when I say it slowly, I go freedom of speech. And if I say that continuously slowly, I start to realize that my speech can create my freedom. What I am speaking, freedom of speech, but we don't realize that if I'm not mindful, my speech can very well create something opposite of freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the very reason why sometimes why people fight to have the ability to speak so that they can give birth to something that can ultimately free them, and not having the ability to have that ability to speak often leads to captivity.
Oh yeah.
And so when you think about it from that perspective, you're like, oh snap, like, yo, freedom of speech, and be like, oh, like my words can free me. Right? They said that, you know, I read the Bible, it says, like, you know, from there's life and death in the power in the tongue, right? Like what you say gives you life or it can kill you.
Yeah.
And but it's the power of choice.
Yes.
Right? When you said your teacher in 11th grade said, what is the author saying and what language are they choosing to use? And how does that tailor what the content is communicating to us? I'm a big proponent on choice, because I ultimately believe everyone has the ability to be rich. And we're like, well, when we think of the word rich, we think monetarily. And we don't realize that that monetary value ultimately provides said person with choices. So ultimately, rich is not a bank account thing. It's the ability to make decisions thing. And so we all, whether your bank account is $0 or $1 million, if you have a choice, you're rich.
Yeah.
Poor is not having choices.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I love that. I mean, I don't love that, but I love the idea of it.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I don't love that there's so much poverty of opportunity, for sure. Yeah, man. Oh, my brain is just racing with possibilities. I love this so much. And if anybody's watching this, we've decided to record our conversations because they just end up making magic, and there's so much insight and value that I gain from this, and I hope Gio gains from this. And so we thought maybe 100%. Somebody else might gain too.
Listen, I can't tell you how much having the space available has changed things. Many people lose hope because there's nothing to look forward to.
Oh, yeah.
I can remember when I tried to commit suicide at 14 years old. It's because I did not have anything to look forward to. Or that was my belief.
Yeah.
My thought process.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it is if I can look forward to something, which this conversation is something I look forward to, right? I just jumped off a coaching call and I was just excited, and I was like revving my engines up for cool. And here's the crazy thing. I literally planned it with a gap of 30 minutes because I need to clear the runway.
Oh yeah.
So that the plane can land.
I love that. Man.
So I was like, yeah, he said, hey, you want to do noon? And I was like, no, I finish at noon. I need 30 minutes to clean my room before you come in.
I love that, man. That's so good.
So totally. And then I just twiddle my thumbs and I'm switching backgrounds. And I actually was going to pick a comedy seller thing at first. And then I said, no, I want something. I'm in this whole spirit of thinking big today. That. And so I said, you know what? The seller has 100 seats. Madison Square Garden has 50,000. In the spirit of big, I'm switching my background to Madison Square Garden. Right? Dude. But I think what's important is we have to create the space for magic to fill it up.
Woo. Amen. Absolutely.
you gotta create it. You can't go and say, hey, I want $1 million. And I'm like, where you gonna put it? Underneath my mattress. No, I need you to go get the bank account.
Yeah.
Like right. $1 million is not gonna be underneath your bed. Like,
Right.
right. So I need
Yeah.
you to create the space to have it, like to receive it. And I think that's something that I believe no matter where we are,
Mm-hmm.
we can create space
Mm-hmm.
to go and say, yo, I'm going to open up myself to the possibility
Mm-hmm.
of being able to receive.
Oh,
Don't
man.
worry about receiving yet. Be worried about, is the store open for customers to come in?
Right. Have you made the space?
That's it.
Love
Like,
it.
did you create the space to be like, yo, oh snap? Like we don't, and that's and here's the thing. I want you to think of the possibilities. One of the things that inspired this was the whole Seinfeld thing about a TV show about nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, if somebody can go and make millions with a TV show about nothing, then be loved. We don't need to know what we doing. We just need the space.
That's it, man. That's it. It's
But
so
they did
great.
it first, and we're like, oh snap, what is it? This is a show about nothing. And I'm like, well, okay, well, let's do that too.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is that nothing show about nothing is the very thing that made Jerry Seinfeld something huge.
Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
And it's like, and so if again, it's the freedom to be.
Oh, man.
The freedom to be. Like,
Oh.
guys, what do you want to be, man? Like, I want to be a child again. My niece comes and says, Uncle Gio, look at me. And she's playing Hamilton and she's doing ballet, be loved. And you should see her. Like, I don't know who the heck she learned this from.
Oh, no kidding.
But to see the emotions, she will hold the pose when the Hamilton song gets to like a very thick part. And she's like, she slows down. She's all in the emotions. And I'm sitting here like, what happened to like the cute ballerina like this? And you're doing a bunch of stuff. And she's like holding the pose.
Wow.
And I'm sitting here and I'm like, I know you watch your mom, but you're not supposed to be able to execute this well.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at the fact that she doesn't know. She and what's funny is if I try to do it, she'll tell me, you're not doing it right.
How old is she?
She's 4.
Oh my gosh. That's
she's
so
going to be
great.
turning 4 this year.
That's great.
And she says, Uncle Gia, you're not doing it right.
You're
I
lacking
need
the
you
conviction.
to do it like this. And she's like all in the emotions.
Oh,
and I'm looking at her and I'm like, how come she gets it?
Mm.
And she didn't learn how not to yet.
Right.
Can you understand what I just said?
Oh.
She didn't learn she didn't learn not. She didn't learn can't yet. And we start thinking about, well, why would you want to learn that? Like, why do you want to learn?
Who's out there teaching it?
Who let this in?
Who's filling these kids' heads with ideas that they can't do stuff?
Yeah, like
everybody
get out of here.
Yeah.
And who was saying this? Somebody said this.
Man.
Oh, that's what Dave Chappelle said. So if you have Netflix, we'll come full circle. Go on Netflix. You'll watch David Letterman interviewing Dave Chappelle.
Okay.
It's brand new.
Okay.
53 minutes of gold, man.
Okay.
And he spoke about community and all these things. But one of the things he said that was amazing was that his father never told him what to do. He created the space for him to think of what he should do. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to let you think it through. I'm going to give you the space. Mm-hmm. I'm a wealth of knowledge. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I need you to have your own thoughts.
Love that.
And I was like, wow, like, that's so cool. Like, that he was creating a thinker from even back then.
Right.
And now seeing him being rewarded for his thoughts, his process. Mm-hmm. And you're like, what? Mm-hmm. No one's asking him, and no one's asking him, hey, what school did you go to, Dave?
Right.
No, it's just, I have thoughts.
Yeah.
And I get to sit with them, and then I have the courage to share them with others, and where they land, they land.
Yeah. There's so much. What a nice tie back too. with
Listen,
Chappelle.
that's a comedy setup. It's called callbacks.
That's the callback right there.
It's a callback right there, like, and it's like, oh snap, we
and
came
then you
back
layer a
full
meta
circle.
joke. Man,
Oh yeah.
There's I wanted to comment on a couple of things you said.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm constantly, I mean, we don't know each other that well, and I'm constantly learning that we have these parallel lives though, and we like bump up against each other. You're talking earlier a bit about like freedom and creating freedom. And at one point that was a motivation for me. I like had philosophized life when I was younger, and I'd written on a Post-it note, we all need the motivation to live. This was because I also had suicidal experiences, let's say, back when I was younger, because I lacked the motivation to live. I didn't have the thing to keep me going. So we all need the motivation to live. We need the creativity to build that motivation. So we need to have the process to build it ourselves and learn what that could look like. That's a infinite possibilities. But before that, we need the freedom to have that creativity. And I think you tied that back to like the use of language as being the first prison. It's we may be enslaved or imprisoned by a bunch of other stuff outside of us, but our minds are our first prisons.
Wow.
And
that's crazy. That's so crazy. Could you imagine? Like, we've all been in prison. And like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't have a record. I've never committed a crime in my life.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, but if I'm just going off on a limb.
Yeah, man, do it.
I don't think if I looked up the word prison and just see what's the definition of it, I wonder. Okay, so it says a building in which people are legally held as a punishment for crime they've committed or while awaiting trial. I'm curious if there's a different, like, is that the only, this is another definition, a state of confinement or captivity.
There it is.
And so we automatically think prison is just for criminals. And it's like a prison, yeah. Like, look, there's bars around here.
Yeah.
So go back. So tell me more of like what other thoughts came up. I mean, I just felt like when you said that, it hit me when you said the first prison. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then thinking about how creativity and our language ultimately is the key to unlock that prison in the first place. So
yeah, I mean, I know I'm speaking. I always have this sense that what I'm talking about is only partially true. Also, like my boiling down, we need the motivation to live, the creativity to build the motivation, and the freedom to have the creativity. It's like a super oversimplification, but also it's not. At this, there's like this. There's always this tension. I'm a big. I subscribe to complexity theory and complexity thinking. This was a huge. Are you familiar with complexity thinking much?
Just for the audience and with me being in that crowd.
Okay. Let's go over what it is.
Down.
Yeah. I don't mean to patronize or be or talk down, but when I was in university, I was introduced to complexity thinking, which is the idea that the universe is too complex to understand, basically. There are things that are in opposition to each other. Things can exist that don't seem to make sense. Small things can have enormous impacts, like the butterfly effect. Maybe you've heard of that, where a butterfly flaps its wings, maybe in Thailand, and it ripples into creating a hurricane across the Atlantic. That's a component of complexity thinking. There's a bunch of formalized sort of foundational principles, but basically it means everything is too complex for our perception. And what we do in this soup of complexity is try to thread a narrative out of it and try to weave a narrative using these threads that we grasp with our perceptions, with our introspections, the reflections. And this is how we make sense of life here. And we've developed some good ways of testing in like science as a means of trying to test our ideas and learning what isn't true is a really, really valuable tool. But I also, this is tied up with one of my principles of magic. No matter how right I think I am, there's a really good chance I'm not. Like or at least there's a window where I have to admit I might be wrong.
Got it.
And so I want anybody who's listening, I really like to emphasize that I don't claim to have answers, but I might disagree with this first prison idea tomorrow, but it's spilled out now. And I feel
I like it.
A neat concept. The other one I wanted to share with you is about your niece. As you said that, I had a cool thing pop up from another magic teacher of mine. Because a question, as magicians, we get asked a selection of questions. First one is, how did you do that? Naturally. The second one is usually like, when did you get into magic? And one of my teachers has a great answer to this question, and not facetious at all. When did you get into magic? When did you fall out of it?
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Isn't that the number one question? Like that's divorce 101. When did you fall out of it?
Yeah. We're all born into magic, right? This
Wow.
world.
Yeah, so you're born into, so it's like.
I never left it. I never got into it. I was born into it just like you were, but for some reason you fell out somewhere along the way. Nah, I don't say it in that way. It's a little like, it's a little too like affronting to me, but I like to share, sometimes people ask me, and I think it's a fun way to think is like, well, I've always been in it. Are you not?
Falling out. When did you fall out of it?
When did you fall out of magic?
Now here's the thing I'll say. So let's just dive into that just a little bit.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple things that come up. So there's two thoughts. One is, oh snap. And by the way, you drinking Starbucks I'm super jealous. I haven't had Starbucks in 22 days. Is that Starbucks?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I'm trying to
my wife said, my wife said, yeah, until they get sponsorship. Howard Schultz, like at any point in time, if you want to give me free kiwi refreshers for life, like I won't accept anything less than for life. We could make that happen. But my wife gave up coffee. And in solidarity, I was like, I'll give up something that I go to every day. So kiwi or berry or whatever their refreshers are. I love it. And so I haven't had it in solidarity with her. And she actually had coffee 3 times this month. So I am due for 3 Starbucks. I don't know when I'm going to claim it, but now that I saw you with the cup, I started thinking about, oh my gosh, like I think I'm going for a walk today, and I think I'm getting this refresher. Like,
and who says ideas are powerful, right? Man.
Sheesh. No,
there you go.
It's the power of suggestion.
That's it.
The power of suggestion. So with the thought about like falling, when did you fall out of magic, right? Because you were born into it.
Mm-hmm.
The one thought that came to my mind was, oh snap, I was born into it. That's crazy. So that's empowering. Here's not where it's not empowering. I don't know when I fell out of it. And now what am I supposed to do with that? Because it's one thing to say, hey, you were born into it. Well, that's cool. But you asked me, when did I fall out of it? And so when you ask me, when did I fall out of it? How about if I've fallen out of it so much that I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how to get back.
Uh-huh.
How about when we say you fell out of it? It's like, yeah, like what am I supposed to do with that? Like,
Right.
that question is it's amazing. But what I have found from a lot of people is like sometimes the epiphanies create wows
Mm-hmm.
and awes at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow, so amazing. Oh, I don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
what do you do with that? Like I get the idea of it, but I don't want to leave someone in the dust of, well, that's cool, but I fell out of it and I don't know where I lost it. So when people lose something, we always say trace back your steps.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's like, well, I didn't even know that I was walking the path to trace anything.
Right. Right.
So what do you have to say to that?
Yeah. So I don't ever ask that question back because I agree. I think it's like a disempowering thing. I like the example because it suggests that we are all magic. That we are the shift for me is cognitive, not actual. So at some point, probably in school, we all had a moment where we compared ourselves to someone else or something we didn't work. And we started to like sense and perceive failure, because when we're kids, our parents make this reality for us a little bit where, like, in addition to everything around us being new and therefore magical, we also have, if we're lucky, loving families that try to create a world of magic, right? Where everything is possible and dreams do come true. And then at some point we get crushed. We have this thought that crushes that out of us. And depending on how many times it gets, crushed over and over again, I think that's what the falling out of magic is. But I don't believe anybody's ever lost it. And so for that reason, I don't, when people ask me, how did you get into magic? I know what they mean by that question. I don't want to be.
What do they mean?
They mean, when did I pick up a magic kit and start learning to do tricks? That's what they want to know. When did you start to do this act that we're seeing now? But I view this act, like the tricks, is just one facet of all of the things of being a magician or being a magic maker. Like I view my yoga practice as a really important part of making magic, and meditation and writing and reading, right? Education, like all of these things are about creating and making magic. And so what the question is designed to do, or I think aims to do from my perspective, is reframe what magic is. And if I did ask that to somebody and gave them that moment, I would want to close the door by telling them, yeah, I don't believe you have fallen out of magic. I just think that we all put limitations on ourselves way too soon. And right. If people, and maybe I've shared this with you before, but if people ask me, like, will you teach me a trick? And there is a code in magic. We're not, you don't want to share secrets because it ruins the experience of mystery for people, which is way more powerful than most experiences. But if somebody really wants to learn, I will teach a trick. I have a few that I'll teach. And often, have I shared this before? We're like,
it's worth repeating.
Yeah. So I'll say, like, here's a trick. I'll show you the method. It's really easy. All you got to do is learn it, go perform it, come back and perform it for me. When you've done that, I'll teach you the next trick. Right. Like, and we'll build these stepping stones. I think out of the hundreds of times I've taught people step one, maybe I've had one person or two people come back for step two.
There's something I want to say to that when you're done. But yeah, there's something powerful in there.
Yeah, I think so too. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. But I think on a bunch of other times, I've heard from the people who I share it with, when I show them a secret, their like immediate thought is, oh, I can't do that. Right. And this is like to tie back to the guy doing the green screen video. Like, this guy's a liar. I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
The moves in the book, I can't do that. Like, it all begins from that space. And so when did you fall out of the belief that you could? When did you fall out of magic?
Mm-hmm.
But I buy, my approach with people is not as, not as, what's the word? Confrontational maybe, or I try not to be as disempowering, but yeah.
I mean, I think if you go ahead and you close the door as quickly, to show me that there's a monster, but then close it so that the monster don't get me, it can be very powerful.
Yeah, I think I appreciate the perspective though, but I think it's just a brilliant line. Like,
no, it's I would use it. I would use it. I mean, when you know yourself, you can take things that are dangerous and still make them produce something amazing.
Uh-huh.
So someone can take a knife, stab someone, kill them,
Mm-hmm.
and someone could take a knife and make an amazing meal that feeds people and cuts trees and provide for their family and all those things like that. So obviously it's also how the tool is used.
Yep.
The thing that I wanted to share, and it came out from a book I was reading called Limitless. And you just said it. When someone asked you, teach me how to do the trick, and you said, here's the method. In the book Limitless, he breaks down 3 M's, and methods is the last one.
Okay.
The first 2, and I would argue this is probably why only one person ever came back to you for the rest, is that they missed the first 2 M's and you gave them the third one. The first 2 M's in the book was mindset and motivation.
Yeah.
And without the mindset or motivation, the method doesn't alone create the cycle for it to continue to loop.
Oh yeah.
But if I was if my mindset is endless possibilities and I'm motivated to seek them, then it makes sense to seek out more methods.
Mm-hmm.
But if I don't have the mindset that believes endless possibilities, that unlimited possibilities, and I don't have a motivation to seek that endless, then why do I need the method? It's like, hey, I want to be a millionaire. And what it would say, what are you going to do with it? Well, then you're not getting it. Like, right? It's like, I can't go to the bank and say, yeah, I need $100,000 loan. For what?
Right.
Because I want it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not gonna work, buddy.
No,
like,
right.
And I think maybe we want things, and it's not that we can't want them, but we may need to identify if our mindset and our motivation for them are in alignment, or the method will never be able to take us somewhere.
Right. Whew. I love that. I maybe part of that is that the method is never as as magical as people wish it were. Like, we live in such a product focused world. We only ever see the end game of stuff. We don't see the process and the real work behind things. So I think you're right. Like, when people ask, can you teach me a trick? They want to see something where they can just snap their fingers and do it. And even the easiest of methods requires practice, requires putting in work to make it feel magical. And that, without the mindset or motivation to stick with it, it's the method can be the daunting thing that says, well, my motivation wasn't actually big enough in the first place.
That's so huge. I think that's so important. The motivation for it will make you figure out. You will go to the end of the world for methods when the motivation is endless.
Yep.
Right? I'll go anywhere to find a method if the motivation is everything. Yep. Right? So if it's everything to me, I'll go everywhere.
Yeah.
But if it's something that it doesn't take much for me to get off my spot.
Right.
if it doesn't mean that much. And
Right.
so I'm going through that myself right now, where I'm really trying to understand deeply. Like literally today, I got to go for a walk to understand what is it that I want to build.
Hmm.
Because the worst thing you can do in life is build something that you don't want to live in.
Hmm.
And um, I realized that I want a home, and so I need to think very well on what that home looks like, because if I build something that's not home, I'm not going to live in it.
Right.
You know, and it's tough because I posted this online. I said the longest road in life is called self road.
Oh, I saw that. I love that. I love that.
Is the longest road,
Yeah.
because there's so many different streets along the path that you can exit on, because that road is lonely. It's too long. There's no yard markers that tell you when the next exit per se is going to be.
Right.
And so it's so much easier to say, well, you know what, forget this. This good road right here is better than whatever this abstract great road is.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to realize that I need to stop wearing things that look too close to green, because I'm like disappearing every now and then. So I'm like, yo, you know what? I've never seen I lost like 20% of my muscle mass with just one move. Like, but it's powerful. I think it's so crazy what, and I said, man, I can't say enough about these conversations. And I think one of the things, and this will be my last statement, and then I'll give you the floor to like make any final thoughts as we go on to this time. But I heard someone once say that the key to a changed life is the conversations that you're present in.
Mm.
Like, what conversations are you having? Which goes call back to the language and the words, right, that we are hearing. Man. But what conversations are you hearing? And what conversations are you partaking in? And those change the reality that you live in. And so these conversations that we're having is a different type of conversation.
Yeah.
Right. We're taking a bunch of blank sheets of papers and we're writing songs.
I love it.
You know, we're writing songs, and then we're like, oh snap. And then you get a chance to look back and see like what song is there. Yeah. But you go and you show up, you occupy the space and let the environment and what happens in that space be whatever it is. And then be present, which is so hard for us to do, so that you can catch what's happening. Because I think most of us are waiting for something to happen. It's like there's a thing on Netflix or something called Waiting for Superman. And you know, I think there's a guy who is talking about we're waiting for Superman to come save our educational system.
Right.
And we need to realize that the superheroes are not coming.
Right.
So who has to do it? If the superheroes aren't coming, then we need to go and take up the cape.
That's it.
Like, we got to do it. And so my hope is that we will have more conversations and be present in the conversations and be open, turn the sign around from closed to open, so that these possibilities could actually be.
Said it so well, man. I love this journey we're meandering. Can I, to call back to words, can I try something with you? A little magic through?
Yes.
Through
Zoom?
Snap.
Nah.
I don't know if this will work. This might get cut, but I've been playing with some stuff through Zoom. So we're gonna play a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And we're talking about language. So I've got here, can you see that? I got a cue card here.
Index card.
I'm going to write something down on here.
Okay.
Okay. I want you to think about a word.
Mm-hmm.
A word. It could be, let's keep it simple. Maybe look around you if you see something. Maybe no more than like 6 or 7 letters. Just
No
one
more
word.
than 6 or
Yeah.
one word. No. Okay.
Just to keep it simple. I'm trying to coach you. I'm trying to steer you a little
No,
bit.
you good.
Okay. On this card, I've written something down. How impressive would it be if I've written down your word on the other side of this card?
Oh, that'd be ridiculous, bro.
What are you
Oh
thinking of, by the way? What did you come up with?
What did I come? I'm supposed to tell you.
What's your word? What's your word?
I'm supposed to tell you, or just think about it.
No. Tell me what it is. Tell me what it is.
It's safe.
Safe. You were thinking of safe, and you would be impressed if I turn this card around and your word is written on the other side of this card.
Absolutely.
You're not going to believe it.
What?
I get it.
Yo,
your word. That's
wow.
That's a terrible joke. That's a terrible joke.
I like that one though. Oh my gosh, though. Let me say.
Hold on. What was the word, Gio? You said it was safe, right? You didn't bite on the 6 to 7. Look,
no. No.
What
the?
Dude, I'm so glad that worked, man. Words, am I right?